All righty, we're back. I guess I watched that thing so you don't have to. And if you did watch it, then you can join me in the collective suffering because you deserve it for spending your Friday night watching a Democratic primary debate in which most of it was spent rehashing many of the same debates they've had now seemingly dozens and dozens of times. I mean, there was a portion of the debate where they sort of transitioned into the exact same healthcare stuff that you've seen over and over again at every debate virtually. They don't even put like a different spin on it. And that's the fault of the moderators for lacking any sense of journalistic incisiveness, whereby you phrase or frame questions in such a way as to elicit new information from the candidates rather than allowing them to just go on the same spiels that they've done a million times. Now, I recognize that not everybody watches every single debate because they're not crazy like me, where you essentially follow this stuff day in and day out, and it's part of your like work. At least it is for me. But still, it's a marker of laziness, and I would say just almost being dumb if you can fail repeatedly to pose questions to presidential candidates in a way that sort of forces them to engage or gets them on the on off out of their comfort zone, or just sort of bring something new to the table. Um, Now I did miss about 20 minutes of it about halfway through because I was doing a Breitbart interview um, on Sirius satellite radio. So my full analysis is not my analysis here is not quite complete because I had to take that call. Actually, it's I've done it. I did it for the first time a couple weeks ago, and it's interesting discussion. It's not crazy. So I'm happy to go on any media within reason where I can express my views uninhibited. That's what I did. Now, I don't know if you watch this, but Joe Biden essentially began the debate by conceding that he's not going to win New Hampshire. He said he took a whopping or he took a blow in Iowa, and they're looking forward to South Carolina. So yeah, I'm sure that's a great way to motivate your supporters here in New Hampshire to basically tell them that he has no chance of winning, which, maybe he doesn't. He seems to be trending down. Another tracking poll came out today that has Pete in the lead. He's trending up in pretty much every poll. And it would not shock me in the slightest if Pete wins the New Hampshire primary because he got days and days of priceless press coverage that sort of communicated that he had won the Iowa caucus, even though obviously it's up for incredible dispute that that's legitimate. So if Pete does win New Hampshire, you will be perfectly entitled to declare this one of the most mind-bendingly blatant examples of rigging ever. And I should clarify something about the notion of rigging, and I did a tweet about this earlier, but I think it's worth sort of expanding upon. When you say that something was rigged in a colloquial sense, at least by my lights, you're not necessarily asserting that there was some conscious, concerted conspiracy that took place where a bunch of people met in a smoke filled room and decided to engineer an outcome favorable to them. Now, that does happen. It could have happened in the case of this Iowa stuff, but I'm not asserting that. There's not firm evidence for it. When I'm saying rig, you're talking about sort of a confluence of factors like sorry, I have an itch on my ear. You're talking about sort of a confluence of corrupt factors that probably includes a combination of active malicious malfeasance, general incompetence, and sort of uh, latent or less than overt bias that all kind of coalesces into bringing about a particular outcome that is favorable to the people that are involved. So the app stuff, we've been over this, but the app stuff, it's just like if you couldn't even stress test the app, or you refused to, or you expected that, 70-year-old grandmas in rural Iowa were going to be able to figure out how to bypass the security settings on their smartphones and install this app in order to report the data properly to the Iowa Democratic Party central headquarters or whatever, then that's a level of obliviousness and incompetence that has to signify some form of malign intent, I would say. Doesn't mean that they necessarily had a conscious objective to, for example, privilege Pete over Bernie, but not even doing the basic sort of logistical things that you'd need to do in order to ensure a smooth Iowa caucus. It gives credence to the theory that there had to have been something more than just sheer incompetence. So when you say rig, that's what you're sort of capturing. Or at least that's what I figure. So if Pete does win New Hampshire, please feel free to declare the early stages, at least, of this primary contest rigged. Because there's a reason why there's so much focus on Iowa and New Hampshire. They set the tone and the trajectory for the remainder of the entire race. And if Pete was the beneficiary of this artificial boost out of Iowa, then I think it's totally legitimate to say that that was rigged. And also involved in the rigging was the corporate media, who amplified a version of events in Iowa that was favorable to Pete, when they could have done the same with Bernie and chose not to. Okay, I have a couple of super chats here already, so I will interrupt my string of thought and Sparky, my benefactor, says, "Don't fool yourself with intentional." Great. Brad says, thoughts on the revelations in Peter Schweitzer's book, Profiles on Corruption regarding Bernie. Is this corruption going to end Bernie and pave way for Tulsi? If you're talking about Peter Schweitzer, I'm aware of that book. Don't know anything about the allegations of corruption that he has in there. I'm assuming that we don't have very much in the way of legs. Peter Schweitzer did some decent stuff on Hillary in 2016, but doesn't mean that he has the goods on everybody in this current field, especially Bernie. I mean, what corruption is he alleging with Bernie? Something to do with the wife's, Jane's, stewardship of the college in Burlington. Okay, that's sort of a minor thing. The FBI did investigate that, but they sort of cleared her. And is it going to end Bernie and pave the way for Tulsi? It's not going to end Bernie. And I can say that with confidence without even knowing what the allegations are. Samuel says, so what is going to happen with Iowa? Is everyone really just going to shrug and move on with the results, or is this going to have ramifications? Well, again, I'll just reiterate what I said the night of the caucus, when it became clear that this was a debacle of epic proportions. My sense was that we should just regard the results as nullified, and I said that to preempt the media narrative that would triumphantly declare Pete the winner on fallacious grounds. But of course, nobody listened to me, nor would I expect them to. So, I mean, the whole reason why Iowa is regarded as important is because of the ensuing media narrative that takes shape as a result of the outcome in Iowa. It's not because of the number of delegates that are allocated. There's a relatively small number of delegates that come out of Iowa. It's how it sort of boosts a candidate who emerges victorious. And Pete, shrewdly, because he's a pretty intelligent political operator, obviously, stepped on it immediately and declared himself the winner. And sure enough, he got several days of incredibly good coverage from that, such that he's not trending upward in New Hampshire and could possibly win. I would say there's a 50-50 chance that he wins in New Hampshire. Static, somebody says. How are we now? Good? Audio is not working. Your mic is bad. Ugh. How's that? Need a new mic cable. I don't know what to do.